Uh, yeah, let's get into it. Today's episode covers three topics in that order. We got fake sports, online classes, and Cyberpunk 2077. Before we get into that, first episode dropped a couple days ago. I gotta do like the time and date. I feel like that could be my thing. I don't know. We're still figuring everything out about what the future of this podcast looks like. But for time's sake, it is 8:08 p.m. December 24th, Christmas Eve, and I'm playing video games and making podcasts because that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yeah, so let's do it. All right. What was I saying? Yes. Previous podcast episode. It was kind of heavy. Low key. We sort of like fucking, it was like 3 a.m. I wasn't really prepped. We sort of just went into it, but that's sort of the point. And following that podcast release, we also released the branding behind this podcast. It was known as Untitled. That is the name of the podcast. I don't know if it's like supposed to be like some meta, like, oh, haha, look at me, I called it Untitled, but it's a titled. Ha, everyone laugh, really cool, really witty. It's more kind of just like an acknowledgement that I don't really have a plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. But we're just committing to that. We're almost embracing it and saying, you know what? We're still going to do, even though we don't know what to do. There's a lot of doo-doo involved in all this. But we're making it work. Speaking of doo-doo, or not really. I got some artists and designers working on some really, really cool stuff for this podcast. Really, really close friends of mine. Big shout out to all of them. I'll be doing official reveals and whatnot. Who are designing shit that is very, very much not doo-doo. We've had some cool concepts brought forth to me. I'm working with a musician who's helping me create like a little like theme song vibe for this sort of thing. I'm working with an artist to get like a type together, a cool like little, like a type, like a name or whatever and whatnot. And I'm working with some other amazing artists at Hive. Big shout out to them for helping me get this started, alongside with some cool graphics and things on the way. But true to the spirit of this podcast, we are not waiting for the graphics. We're not waiting for all the fancy shit. It's going to get here. Trust. In the meantime, fake sports, online classes, and Cyberpunk 2077. Let's get into it, starting with the fake sports. Let's talk about this because this has been a really, really fun debate. I've been an athlete myself my whole life. My parents got me into this sort of thing very, very young. I was like really, really high energy, crazy energetic all the time, constantly running around, doing all sorts of different sports. And I've done a lot of shit as far as sports goes. I played the soccer as every kid did growing up. I played the baseball. I was also an ice hockey player when I was younger, probably around 10 or 11. I played for a couple seasons there. I've been learning to skate since I was like 3. I love skiing and then recently transitioned into snowboarding. That's been fun. I do a lot of longboarding and starting to get into skating, which is a lot of fun. Really, really dope. What else have I done? I've made like weird little entryways or quick jaunts into the worlds of things like, I don't know, fucking squash, I guess. I have mentioned in the past, I was a rower. That took up 99% of my time throughout high school. I was I was a really high elite level of rowing. I was supposed to go to college to do it, and then we didn't. I chose video games as my passion, what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and haven't looked back since. What other sports have I gotten into? There's so much weird. Rock climbing. I went through a rock climbing phase. Like just weird shit, man. Whatever hit my mind. But fake sports, right? Let's talk about what you think the definition of a sport is. Here, let me buy you a little bit of time while I look up what the definition of a sport is. The sports for me has always been like an outlet for energy and like an organized sort of thing. But here, as we're looking at the definition, I just went to Google, hit definition sports, and just hit send. Word for word, verbatim, it says noun, plural noun, sports. An activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. Or informally, a person who behaves in a good or specified way in response to teasing, defeat, or similarly trying situation. Old sport. All right. So that's interesting. An activity involving physical exertion and skill where an individual or team competes against someone else for entertainment. That's a really interesting definition because everyone always goes to love, oh, what's a sport? And someone will be like, ping pong. And you'll be like, no, like I played football, played lacrosse, soccer, all of which I did have Johnson too. But ping pong, think about it. By the book definition, or not the book, the Google definition, ping pong very, very much is a sport. It's physical exertion, and if it's not, you're just not good at ping pong. I'm sorry. And it's very, very highly skilled. An individual competes against another individual, and it's entertaining as fuck, bro. These people are going at it like you can't even see the ball. It's like phasing across your screen at whatever 60 FPS we're trying to manage. Ping pong's dope. I've watched some really, really talented ping pong players, and me and my dad growing up, like that used to be our thing. Like my dad would always kick my ass in ping pong, like nonstop. He would crush me, and not in like a, oh ha ha, I'm your father, I'm gonna beat you at ping pong. It was like, I don't like you, I'm gonna beat you in ping pong. And I still haven't beaten him to this day. He's filthy at ping pong. Shout out Papa CT. But ping pong very, very much fits in the definition of a sport. Okay, cool. Let's talk something a little bit more complicated. Formula One racing. Formula One racing, right off the bat, is amazing. I'm a huge fan of Formula One racing. It's my most preferred form of racing, but there's a lot of cool racing out there. Like Formula One, you've got NASCAR, you've got like sailing. I don't know if you guys ever seen competitive sailing. Like, it probably sounds boring. This shit is epic. Like, I'm talking Pirates of the Caribbean. Boat is sideways on the water with this like 3 sails up, cutting through the water, like crazy high architecture and engineered boats going at way too fast across the water. Like, it's sick. If you've never seen competitive sailing, go check it out on YouTube. Look up highlights or crashes or something. It's dope. It's what everyone loves about racing. Going too fast, crazy comebacks, crashes, shit blowing up, whatever, right? But Formula One racing, by this definition of a sport, is sort of up for grabs, right? We talk about an activity involving physical exertion and skill. Okay, there's an individual driving the car, but there's very, very much a team around it. You know, you got the pit crew, everyone else helping them out. You have everyone doing like the race plans, like the managers. It's very, very much a team versus team sport. It's one of the most expensive sports in the world. It has the highest paid athlete in the world, Lewis Hamilton. It's high profile. It is very, very up there. It is very rich, and it is fucking fast, right? Super fun to watch. Crazy fun to watch. But is it physically exertive? That's the word. That's the word. Don't say anything. I don't know. Are they sweating in the car? Yes. Maybe it's because they're nervous, or it's a high intense pressure situation, or it's hot out. But they're sitting down. The only thing moving are their hands on a wheel and feet on like pedals. And there's not even a clutch because they use paddle shifters on the steering wheel. So is it physically exertive? For 5 or 10 minutes? Maybe not. You know, driving a car to work, there's no physical exertion there, right? But these people are in this car in a high pressure situation for a pretty long period of time. Like, these races go on for a while. And if you've ever been on a longer car trip, like, you get out of the car and you just feel drained. You feel pretty tired. You gotta like stretch your back out and shit. Like, it's a lot. So in my eyes, I would say yes, Formula One is a sport by that definition. But you also didn't know I was kidding here. Let's address the elephant in the room. E-sports. A fake sport, right? We're going to get into it. So, if you don't know, I was an ex-professional Gears of War coach. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm hugely invested in esports. It's my life. It's what I love to do. There's some bias here, but I'm going to do my best to address it at face, the bias, and also be as impartial as possible. Let's get into it. So, with the esports, right? The definition, again, an activity involving physical exertion and skill. I forgot to bring up skill, but that's sort of obvious. Those F1 drivers are skilled as shit. They're insane, right? So is ping pong players. Shout out ping pong players. In which an individual or team competes against another for entertainment. That's literally the foundation of esports, is the fact that it's so readily available for entertainment because it is built to be viewed online. There's no other sport that can do what esports does in the form of a broadcast. You know, other sports, a lot of them, almost every single one, are built around that experience. Going to a baseball game, Cracker Jacks, hot dogs, sitting in that stadium, crack of the bat, like all those classic like vibes. You know, soccer, being in the pitch, all the chants, the crowds, the just epic proportion of the sport, everything, right? And then you watch it from home, and it's you know, it's not as good. It just isn't. They do a fine job. The commentators are high tier, amazing, but the experience just isn't the same. And while that is true of esports, I believe that being in person in LAN on LAN. Sorry for my grammar. I'm trying, guys. I'm really trying. This is only my second day out here. Being on LAN is everything, right? If you're a competitor, you know this. Playing on LAN is by far and away better than being online. But if you're a spectator, the amount of fans of esports who have actually been to an esports event in person is probably very disproportionately less than the comparative example of soccer. If you're a soccer fan, you've been to plenty of soccer matches, likely. You know, whether they be, you know, your home team. For me, that's the Columbus Crew, shout out Crew, or FC Cincinnati, shout out FC Cincinnati. But, you know, other sports, you're more likely to be, if you're a fan of that sport, you've been to it. Like football, right? Maybe you've gone to an NFL game, an NBA game, a hockey game, NHL, things like that. But a lot less people who are fans of esports have actually been to an esport. And yet, people love esports. The numbers are insanely high on some of the views of some of these things. Like, it's actually ridiculous. I mean, let's talk about some of the notable things that have happened in esports this year. This is by no means a whole list. I'm just trying to pull this out of my head, as well as like the League of Legends World Champions. It's the 10th year of League of Legends World Champions, right? And I think like Damwon Gaming, I think I said that right, like took the championship there. And everyone knows League of Legends is hugely insane. It is like T1 esport, without a doubt, rivals all kinds of esports for like the premier like sport, right? And that's sort of the other thing I want to bring up about esports is a collection of sports. It is, if you think about it. Like yes, it's online gaming. That's what esports is. But what game do you play? Right? I guess the only equivalent to that would be like, let's say you're baseball. You play baseball. You play by the same rules. Maybe you play a different position, and different positions have different skills, but you don't play different sports in baseball. Whereas esports, everything's sort of lumped together. League of Legends, Call of Duty, Dota, Gears of War, Overwatch, Rocket League. Like, all those games are sort of dynamically different with rule sets and positions and things that, but it's all under esports. And that's probably one of the biggest differences out there. I just find that insane. But yeah, I guess that would be something really notable to bring up, because that's just different. And while, you know, you could play different positions in baseball, you can also play different positions in Call of Duty. Are you an anchor? Are you an entry sub? Are you a flex player? Are you a main sub? You know, whatever else. And I know, you know, ADC, top, jungle, mid, like all sorts of those things. Like, they're definitely positions that are radically different and require different skills. Yeah. I guess we're moving on from that. We had the Call of Duty Modern Warfare World Champs. That was sick. That was one of my first times like really closely following a champs for Call of Duty. That was for $4.6 million. And like, that number alone was like, oh, hold up. What? Like, because I knew that like games like League of Legends and Dota 2 had impressively large prize pools. Like, insane to me to think about in gaming. And they're relatively new if you think about it. But there's already multi-million, probably billion-dollar leagues and establishments together. That's insane. And especially with the introduction this year of the Call of Duty League. $25 million was the rumored, and I'm pretty sure confirmed, payment to get a spot into this league. And so with 12 teams, 12 times 25, if we do some rough math here, that's a little bit under a third of $1 billion. Hold on, let me type in 25 times 12. 25 with how many zeros after it? Yeah, 6 times 12 equals. Yeah, it's a little under a third of $1 billion just to get this teams in this league. That's not talking about building the compounds. Some people already had them established, some didn't. Paying the players who I believe have a minimum salary of $55K, as well as they need to get paid at least half of the league of their earnings. I think those are their rules as far as like payment goes. But there's a lot of fucking money involved in this shit, right? And with $4.6 billion as a prize pool for a single event, just looking at the growth of Call of Duty esports in the past decade, something like that. You know, I haven't been a day one Call of Duty esports fan. I'll be completely honest, I haven't. But as of late, it has just captured my attention. It's captured my heart. I love it. I want to be involved with it. I want to watch it, and I will continue watching it as long as I live. It's just fucking cool. right? And so $4.6 million, the winner of that, Dallas Empire, who won over Atlanta FaZe, I believe it was 5-1. I don't remember exactly, but a pretty dominant performance in the finals there of the Modern Warfare CDL 2020 World Championship. Won $1.5 million. $1.5 million for one team of 5 people plus coach. You know, that gets divided out to the org. There's taxes involved. Bro, $1.5 million for a weekend's worth of work. And I'm very careful with that statement because these players grinded their asses off, not only this whole season of Modern Warfare, but to get where they are skill-wise. Like, as a team, they grinded this year. But each individual has been doing this for years and years and years and years, not making enough money to, like, live on their own for most of them, especially early on. And nowadays, that they're privileged enough to be in an environment to compete for that much money with the best talent in the world. I'm sure these guys are happier than anything. And I'm so excited to see this sport and these individuals have these opportunities, right? There's so much money out there. And I honestly see like this sort of event and like the way you have to look at it as like an esports competitor, like breaking into that level, because like that top 0.00001% have made it, right? And like set, famous by the community, make enough money to live doing what they love. Like that's honestly everyone's goal. And that's just insane to me. Like, those kinds of people, the way I like to put it, they're like an overnight success 10 years in the making, right? Like, they've been grinding for 10 years, and then overnight, they made it. I don't know. That's just sort of how I like to think about it. Let's move on from Call of Duty. Because, you know, I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to Call of Duty yet. We're getting there. I'm grinding. I'm studying. Well, let's move on. Valorant First Strike. Now, moving from COD to Valorant, Valorant recently came out. Huge, like, not uproar, because that sounds negative. Huge momentum behind this game releasing. People love this game. And I could see why. The game is fun. It's sort of like a familiar kind of format with having one of the most epic games of all time, CSGO. One of the longest living games of all time. Being sort of not reformatted and refurbished, but sort of like they're similar. They're brothers, right? And the way that the games have been structured, you know, they're very different, but they feel like family. And this Valorant First Strike tournament was not big as far as money goes. $40,000 went to I believe 100 Thieves beating TSM, winning the Valorant First Strike, you know, event. And that was actually a huge win for the org, right? 100 Thieves coming out in 2017. Very, very new organization run by Nadeshot, right? Matthew Haig. I don't know, whatever. Nadeshot, like someone whose name I know and like grew up with. And I don't even follow Call of Duty like that. Like that alone should tell you how big of an icon he is. And I don't need to tell you. If you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, whichever one you're choosing to do, you likely know his name. Just because that's sort of the demographic I come from, the people I know and who will likely watch this. Nadeshot's really that guy. He's come out with 100 Thieves in 2017 on unparalleled growth for an organization starting out. He's gone from not existing to a T1 organization who can lay claims and rival any org in the world right now. Not necessarily financially, but as far as the fan base and what they produce as an org. In 3 years. That's just impressive as it is. I feel like people overlook that a lot. And they're like, oh, Nadeshot was a successful Call of Duty player. He has people backing him like Drake and all kinds of money. Like, I feel like people overlook how difficult that is to do. That's really, really impressive from a management position, from those players being able to compete and win. Just everything about that and the content they're pushing out, being, you know, the hoodie sweatshirt organization, putting in all that work, like, huge props to them. Their success is just good for esports in general. Whether or not you're a 100 Thieves fan, them showing that you can do that, again, overnight success, 3 years, I guess, in the making. That's big for esports, and that's big for anyone who's a fan. The entire scene in every sport, just esports in general, like I said, that huge umbrella, not only of gaming, but then also the blurred lines with like content, which is huge and makes a ton of money, and that's where the eyes go. That's just huge for everyone in that environment. 100 Thieves is good for that. Space, everything. They make the world a better place. And I kind of want to talk about that real quick. quick side jaunt here. I said the word jaunt earlier on. I don't have a better word, so I'm just going to keep running it with it. I really apologize. There's a very thin line between the umbrella of esports, competitive gaming, and then all support systems there, because the people who compete are the face of it. They're the ones doing the daily grind in and out, but there's, coaches behind the scenes, analysts behind the scenes, team managers behind the scenes, the communication with that organization to make that come to fruition. All the people running the leagues these players compete in, like esports is expansive, right? But that's one half of it, right? Let's talk about the other half, sort of the media side of it, right? I talked very, very early on in this podcast about the fact that it's built to be watched online. That's what it is. It's built to be broadcasted online and can do so unlike any other sport in the world. But if you think about these players, most notably Ninja, who blew up, right? And he's, again, another prime example of an overnight success, years in the making. Halo professional, streamer for a very, very long time, and then blew up. And he finally made it. And that's what seems like the story of a lot of Twitch streamers is, or streamers in general. Shout out Mixer. R.I.P. Mixer. I don't know why I brought that up. I just thought that was fucking funny. There's a joke in there somewhere. Pretend I made it and was like smart enough to connect that dot on the fly. Just pretend I did, okay? I'll thank you later. But media, creation, that seems to be the other half of the public face of organizations in esports, right? You have the business side of it, all the money, all the brain power, the thinking, the thought that goes into it, and like just how to run a business. Very, very hard to do and doesn't see the light of day. And I think most notably, like we talk Hex, like the greatest GM, or I don't know exactly what his title is, but like the greatest business mind and esports figure in history. Right? Undisputed. Hex is the fucking GOAT. We talk about what he does behind the scenes. We know a lot about it and he's famous for it, but we don't know the half of it. We don't know a quarter. We don't know shit about what he's done. And that's just a testament to how much work he's put in, because we think we know a lot. But as someone who's studying business and who like can sort of start to understand entrepreneurship and everything that it takes, I know enough to know that I don't know anything, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but pretend it does. That's just so impressive. But he's the management and the business side, like I talked about it. But Optic Gaming has had faces within the organization that to this day, whether or not they're still in the org, have just gone off and been like a hallmark, or I don't know what the fucking word is, have been influencers. That I don't like using the word influencers. Have been, I don't know. What's that big wall? The stone wall with like the president's faces in it. Whatever that is, that would be those people in esports, right? Optic Gaming is legendary. Everything they've done has been insane. Those people are the faces of it, right? And a lot of them are competitors. Like, first one that comes to mind, Scumpy. Bro, like, I'm not even going to start talking about that because I don't need to. Incredible, right? But then the creators that have come out of Optic. Like, the way they revolutionized what we do, YouTube and stuff. Like, them alongside people like FaZe and whatnot, who are also huge into creation, and then also competition as well. It feels like those are the two sides of any esports org that are presented to the world, minus all the business stuff and whatnot in the background, right? So any org, in fake sports, right? We don't see that dynamic in real sports, everyday sports, right? We see baseball, right? We have the faces of the franchise, the starting players out on that field, the people who come off the bench, pitchers in the bullpen, like there's faces of the organization, and you have the GMs, the coaches, and then like the inner workings and all the math behind the scenes, like all the Moneyball shit. We sort of know about that, but not a ton, because that's like a sort of secret. That's how they work. But there's no equivalent to what these organizations and individuals are doing as the creators on YouTube are. It's creativity, it's business, there's money flowing in it, it's art, it's pop culture, all fucking together. I'm a little uncomfortable being so out there with the swearing so far, but I'm just trying to keep it real and authentic, filter nothing, and this is how I talk. So we're just going to leave it at that. Shout out Gary Vee for letting me overcome that and just put it on the internet and hope it works out. Whatever. We're going everywhere in my mind right now. That shit's bonkers, right? And so I think I'm gonna leave that be right now. Just I feel like I'm just gonna keep rambling. I feel like I've said everything meaningful I could about this. We'll probably go back to this topic, but that just blows my mind, and that is why that dynamic, that fluidity, anything. It's a merger of anything and everything. You have to be multi-talented. You have to be multifaceted. You have to understand the business, the competition, the art, the creation, the pop culture, the community. To be successful, you have to know everything. And that challenge and that invitation, that's what I love about esports. And that's why I feel like I'm gonna succeed. Got a little premonition there. I don't know if that's a belief in the self, if it's like a blind stupidity, or it's something else. But I love that challenge. I wake up every morning looking to conquer that challenge. Fake sports, right? So we're talking about the definitions. We talked about some other things, notable events that happened, other shit. Gears champs. I'm not familiar with the prize pool off the top of my head. Shout out to VQ running that shit, like absolutely running that. VQ went above and beyond, fried everyone, played insane all weekend long. It's not like they just turned up when they had to. Foot on the gas, day 1, day 3, incredible shit. Really well done. And the new tunings in UMG, like running the broadcast really smoothly. Everyone involved, things are looking up. I could not be more excited for Gears esports in general. I'm not going to start talking about it now because God knows I could talk about it forever. It'll probably be a whole video of its own. But if you do want me to talk about Gears stuff, I will definitely be doing videos on it. Give me some questions. I'll think on them. We'll put it out there. Definitely a future video. I'm not going to get sucked into that trap right now. We'll get there. And then Dota. I brought them up a couple times. Dota is like up and away, as in like some of the most sensationalized, huge spectator events, prize pools, everything. They're not very big in Western culture, but like especially in Eastern culture and everything else, it's insane over there, and it's so big that while a lot of us in Western culture have very little to do with it and don't follow it, we still respect it for just the spectacle and the size and the gravity around that esport. That is, it's insane. I don't even know what to say about it. I don't want to talk too much about it because, again, I'm not very familiar, but I'm just saying, like, I recognize and respect just the, like I said, the gravity around Dota. It was postponed from 2020. I believe it will be in 2021. I think it's called like the Invitational. Let me look it up. This deserves the respect. The International is what it's called. Yeah, the International, right? That's postponed, but that has over a $40 million prize pool. Let me say that again. $40 million prize pool for that one LAN. What? Bro. I might need to start competing in Dota. Fuck, dude. That's insane. But like that number, just dropping that and just saying 40 million. That's insane, dude. That shows the potential for esports, where we can all go as a community of people who work behind the scenes, the business, the management, to the players and the staff that go into that, to then the creators, everything about esports. And what I love about it is because we have so many different sports and variables and people of all different types involved under this huge umbrella of esports, is that when one group of people succeed and one area succeeds, so does everyone else. We're raising the bottom bar. We're raising the floor of what esports could be. And we're also simultaneously, notice I said raising the floor. What the bare minimum is just keeps going up and up and up, and it's insane. And the reason I didn't bring up ceiling is because there's no fucking ceiling to this shit. Because of the way it's structured and the culture we live in today, this online presence, the blow up of the internet, everyone's ability to talk to each other, tweet out, get hashtags trending. Like we saw Albert, like Twitter personality. I don't know what to call him. Just got signed. I think it was Liquid. Who did Albert sign with? Hold up, I just saw this. I'm just gonna type Albert Twitter into Google, and he's the first. Yeah, he joined Luminosity. I typed in Albert Twitter, and he was the first person to join up. Like that's insane. Like all over everything every success helps just the ecosystem of esports rise. And that's why it pains me to see like toxic shit online, people making fun of each other, clash between different esports, console wars, all that shit pisses me off. And now, I'm not soft in this regard. Like Gears of War, very, very famous for its shit talk. And I love engaging at that. Like, I am all for a healthy competition, getting people's faces, getting live, money on the line, pride on the line. You're competing. There's winners and losers. I love that. I really do. And I support the fuck out of that. And I hope the CDL, after they're more business secure and everything, drops those restrictions a little bit and lets interpersonalities come out, you know, to an extent, right? There are some disgusting things said while gaming that I think are just really inappropriate. But in general, I love that raw authenticity you get and the ability to interact like with individuals. And again, that's why I love esports. Whether or not you consider it a fake sport, a real sport, I can go to someone's stream, type something in chat, and they can see it. Where else can you do that? And like that's why I feel like a lot of like real sports stars have gravitated towards Twitch lately, is because it's a platform with the ability to engage with your fan base unlike anyone else. And you can make revenue off of it. Like it's just all around a great thing. But yeah, I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about, quote, fake sports. So I guess we'll move on to our second topic here, online classes. I'm a sophomore at the Ohio State University, and I'm studying international business, and online classes fucking suck. Ohio State's doing a great job, to be honest, with COVID. From my perspective, I've gotten tested numerous times. I am a brother of the Pi Lambda Phi fraternity at Ohio State, meaning that I'm a pretty targeted demographic. They target us specifically with COVID testing, restrictions on like parties, things like that. Like everything that you'd think of when you think frat obviously does not go hand in hand with COVID. I gotta give a huge shout out to everyone in my fraternity, like really doing a good job. And I'm not just going out there and saying, oh, my fraternity is doing awesome, yay, thumbs up and whatnot. I could just avoid this topic entirely and not have to lie to you gues, but I'm not lying. The fraternity's done an amazing job. There's been a lot of friction between how do we recruit, how do we host parties, how does the social life work. There's been a lot of friction there, a lot of discourse, and I'm really proud of the way my fraternity has talked it through and like adapted to the regulations and the pandemic, the global pandemic we're living in. Make sure everyone around us is healthy and safe. I'm really proud of that. But let's talk about the online school, right? Ohio State's doing a decent job, as well as could be expected, but this is so hard for teachers everywhere, right? Online school. Online. That's not how it's meant to be. And a lot of these teachers don't know. I feel like the students are more prepared than the teachers are. We're growing up in an age where this is normal. We're on Discord. We as individuals, like youth, navigate unthinkable amounts of data, content, whatever it is, online. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, news outlets, search engines, video games, Reddit, like insane amounts of information that we're able to process and sift through. And so going online, I feel like we're really well prepared to handle different forms of media, different forms of, you know, teaching and learning. But it is really hard to really learn online. To have something taught to you, teaching it is very hard. And then to be able to even be in a position to learn that and really retain it and have like not an understanding of it, but like a knowledge of it. And I'm not saying the right words here, but you know what I mean. That's just so hard to do. And it's one of the things I've seen just go absolutely rampant throughout college, throughout high schools and things. It's just like cheating, right? And I want to address cheating sort of as like a topic overall and like a thought. Like the reason people cheat is because they want good grades. And that's a problem in itself. I am very against this notion that grades define who we are. I think grades do an okay job of testing someone's knowledge of specific topics. I think it does an okay job, right? Like it doesn't always test our ability to apply the information, memorize it, whatever. I'm not going to go crazy deep into it, but I think giving a student a number, that GPA, and saying that reflects his potential, that reflects, you know, who they are, I think is bad. I think it's unhealthy. I don't think it's productive, and I don't think it benefits the workforce. However, the alternative isn't really feasible, I think, in the short run. And I'm really hesitant to say that, but I just don't see or have off the top of my head a better way to do that right now. So while I am going to shit on it and say it's bad, I don't have a better solution. Definitely think I'm going to be thinking on. But if I had a better solution, I wouldn't be here talking about it. I would be going out in the world trying to push it out, get the right people, start working the politics of it. But I don't have a better solution. I simply don't. And that's such a hard problem to answer. And I'm not just, again, shitting on it and being like, oh, you guys suck. Fix it, fix it, fix it. The world's corrupt. Make things better. We should. Um, but it's a very, very complicated and difficult problem to solve in my eyes. But the cheating and grades thing, people are concerned about, like if you cheat to get a better grade, you look better if you don't get caught. Getting caught obviously is bad. You look better, right? Your grades go up. Your family is like, oh, my kid's got these great grades. Job and employers are like, wow, this kid got 4.0 GPA, all this stuff. It's gone up and up and up. But the actual, you've made less effort to understand the material, right? You cheated. By definition, you worked your way around what it took to fully understand the information. So by literal, I don't know, definition, you are less competent with the material than you would be of someone who knew it well. And then the question sort of comes up, someone who does not do well and gets bad grades, are they more competent than someone who cheated and got good grades? Well, that's a shady area, right? Because maybe that person who cheated to get good grades, who hadn't cheated, would have gotten just as bad grades as the person who tried. It's case by case. It's hard to say. But one thing I will say is that when you cheat to get better grades, you have less grasp of the material. You just simply do. And I think that that's not really acknowledged as far as like how that's so unproductive. Like, I don't get amazing grades. I could. I very, very well could get straight A's, be 4.0. I'm chasing so many different things in my life and so many different passions that for me, as a young teenage boy thinking, right, which is really fucking hard to do. We're not great at that. I don't see that as a productive use of my time on things that don't interest me. There are some things that interest the shit out of me that I absolutely love. Like economics, that whole principle, those understandings. I've discovered I really like economics and I put a lot of effort into it. I got pretty decent grades at it, but most of all felt really intrigued by by the whole process of learning, and luckily had a good professor. And now look at the world differently because of my understanding of economics. That's a very, very valuable learning experience. That's the peak of what you can hope to do. I suppose learning something is learn it and apply it to the world around you. That's the peak of learning. That's why we learn. But there are other classes that I just struggle with. Statistics is one of them, right? Funny enough, I do consider myself a data analyst, and I am really, really good at understanding how those numbers reflect behavioral patterns and how looking at those, we can sort of paint a picture of the environment these players are working in and how can we influence that environment to get more beneficial results. That's what I love to do. That's what I'm trying and learning to do. And statistics is a class that would undoubtedly help me be better at that. And I recognize that and want to do good at it, and I suck. Something about it is bad. Not it's bad, I'm bad. I'm bad at it. I failed it. My what was it? Sophomore or my freshman year, second semester, I failed a statistics class, and I just retook it this sophomore year, first semester, and I still struggled in it. If I passed, I probably got like a D. I just am bad at it, even though I recognize it's important, even though that the things I love to do and are hopefully going to be my profession would be benefited by it. It's just not working out. And that means I don't fully understand the material, and I need to keep working at it. Now, I don't cheat in that class because I recognize that I want to be good at that, so I need to work at it. Now, granted, I don't cheat in any of my classes because I don't care about my grades. I don't. I have so much faith. And that's what I love about the world of esports and gaming is that you are not, you're reflected by your ability to perform your job, whatever that may be. And that's it. In my experiences so far, that has been the reality of it. If you're good at something, there will be a job for you. And I think that's because of how specialized esports is and how new it is, that the amount of people trying out for certain shit is small enough that we can sift through every single person's performance and from there find an ideal candidate. Right now, obviously, out in the world, there's billions of people looking for billions of jobs, and it's not feasible to do. And a lot of those jobs aren't necessarily highly specialized in certain instances, and so having a universal way to grade everyone is pretty necessary. So working, hopefully having a future in esports and chasing what I love does not require me to fit within that system, because the rules of how you're hired, how you're paid, how that world of esports works doesn't comply with how we know everything else in the world to work. So I'm taking a calculated risk saying that I could care less about my grades. I care about learning. I care about taking the things around me that I see could benefit me, whether that be things taught to me by my teachers, conversations with my teachers about their personal experiences that I see could be interesting or beneficial, conversations with other industry professionals about what they do. If you know anything about me, I'm always talking to all kinds of people about, I love that. Going to an artist, saying, what made you think that? Why? How'd you get into it? What do you love to do? What do you hate to do? You know, talking with commentators and analysts, desk hosts. How'd you start that? What did your journey look like? What did you struggle with at first? What was one thing you wish you knew? I'm doing that to every professional and a lot of amateurs as well, about what are other people's experiences, and I steal from them. I steal those experiences and learn from those. Like, they tell me what happened, and then I know, and then can incorporate that into my own journey and be a better person because of it. And that's why I'm so grateful and thankful for the opportunity and the internet to network and talk and learn from all these professionals. And I'm incredibly grateful for anyone who's ever given me the time to talk with me about that, to share what they love and share their passions. And that happens all the time. And I think everyone loves that. And that's why esports and gaming and that culture is just fucking beautiful. Like, at the end of the day, my GPA is not good. Not where it should be. Like I got like a 35 ACT. That's really smart. But my SAT wasn't as good as that. And I was able to use a combination of that high grade with mediocre grades in high school and a good essay to get me into Ohio State, which is becoming an increasingly difficult school to get into. I'd also applied directly into the business school, so that's very, very hard to get into, and lucky I was able to get there. But now I'm realizing through all these different experiences and these things that my grades don't matter to me, and I don't think they'll matter to my future employers, because like I said, everything in esports is about results. Can you step up to the plate and deliver when it's your time to deliver? If the answer is yes, I want you on my team. If the answer is no, there's probably someone who can, and they're a better candidate than you are. And that's the harsh reality of it. And that's so hard. Esports is incredibly difficult. And when I say esports, I'm also including the umbrella of content, even though that's not necessarily a competition. Like, it is. It's a competition for attention. And like, you know, a competition for all sorts of different things. But esports, when I say that, includes everything under this big media umbrella I talked about earlier. But that's what makes esports so hard. I feel like that's why mental health struggles are so difficult within the world of competitive gaming, the business, the art, the creation, because it is so results-based. And those thoughts, especially being a lot of these people are increasingly younger and younger and younger, because we don't require high school degrees. We don't require those college degrees, right? So we're discovering now, more often than ever, that young people are amazing at what they do. Maybe not right away, and of course they still have a long way to grow, but they are so much more talented than we would have realized had they not gotten into gaming. They just stayed in high school, went to college, got their whatever degree, and then when they were free of that system, that pressure to go to high school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, and then think about what you want to do, that they're starting this early and this young and finding this passion and chasing it, using the youthful energy, the look at the world, the ability to be a sponge and bring things in, the flexible mindset to grow up in a very, very rapidly changing world. That's where we're finding the most elite, the highest tier performers of anything. And I guarantee you, there's an 8-year-old right now out in the world somewhere who, over the next 10 years, or let's say he's a 9-year-old for the purpose of this, over the next 10 years, in 10 years he'll be 19, he'll be my age. And I guarantee you, he's going to be 10 times better at doing whatever it is I'm doing right now. Guarantee it. The world's evolving. The people are evolving. And one of the biggest things that I just stuck with me growing up is my dad went to a private school. I was very fortunate enough to go to a private school and graduate from there with incredible education. I do not put that up for granted. I know I've sort of been shitting on, I was shitting on grades and that culture, but I think, like I said, proper education and the learning, that's so, so important. My dad's high school, its sort of motto was each generation is better than the next. And my father, being that generation, told me, the son, being the next generation, you're going to be better than me. You're supposed to be. And that's a lot of pressure, but I love that concept. And I think that's a very, very accurate way of describing it. There's some amazing people out there. And if we as a culture stop pushing them into boxes, pushing them into this GPA, this requirement, this expectation, this, that, and listen to the kid, listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's, look at what he's doing. What do his actions say? What do his words say? Because a lot of times, if his actions and words both say the same thing, it's true. If the kid says one thing and then, like, let's say he wants to go to the NFL, but he's not working out every day, he's not waiting for professionals, he's not watching film, he's not trying hard at practice, those things don't match up. He's just saying he wants to go to the NFL. In reality, maybe he wants something different. Maybe he wants fame, maybe he wants attention, he wants TV time, something else. But if he wants to go to the NFL, he would be doing the work it takes to get there. Maybe he doesn't know the work it takes to get there and you have to tell him, and maybe then he'll suddenly start doing it. But listen to your kids. That's one thing I can tell parents and what I'll be doing everywhere. Listen to your kids. Listen to their voices and listen to their actions. And that will paint a clear story of where they're going to be happiest and where they're going to be most successful. And then support them wherever that is. I think that covers like the online classes portion of this. So let's keep it pushing here. We've got Fake Sports, online classes, and Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this was the first time and all the time I could remember that a single player game grabbed me by the fucking face and said, look at me, and I looked at it. Plenty of people have tried. There's some incredible first person games out there. Spider-Man was super sick. Talk about like Red Dead Redemption, Fallout. Like there's been historic and incredible stories told through first person experiences, third person experiences, all kinds of experiences. I said that wrong. I mean like single player. That's it. Single player experiences. I've just never been that kind of person. I'm a competitor. I love talking, socializing with people around me, getting into person versus person competition. That's what I love to do. And so that for that reason, single player games have never really grabbed me until Cyberpunk 2077. It sold 15 million copies. And I think this includes subtracting all the reimbursements. I forget what that's called. Whatever. A bunch of people didn't like the game and gave the game back to the party, and the party gave them back their money. A refund. Holy shit, Andy. Hold on 1 second, guys. I need you to take care of me here. I'm struggling. You gotta help me out. Not sponsored by Rockstar. What kind of product placement can we get here? Fuck it. Yeah, okay. I'm done. I was gonna be funny. It was gonna work out. It was gonna stick there. It was gonna be dope. It was gonna be a nod. Fuck, bro. All right. What was it saying? Right. Cyberpunk, 15 million copies with 8 million pre-orders. Breaks the all-time record of pre-orders ever, right? Like that's like, think about 15 million, big number, right? But a lot of like online and media feels like big numbers. I think the population, let's look up the population of New York City. New York City population. The city itself is 8.3 million. London has an 8.9 million population. So approximately, if every single person in the entire city of New York City and London combined bought this game and we're playing it. That's a lot, right? And in my eyes, this is a bold statement. This is thrown out there. I think it's the most ambitious game ever. I feel like I'm going to catch shit for that. I feel like there's a lot of people who know a lot more about this than I do who are going to fact check me or whatever check me. But that's what it feels like to me. This game just screams ambition, art. It's just revolutionary. The open world system in it puts GTA to shame. Your ability to interact with the world around you, the AI of the people with you. like the ability to travel, the experiences you get to have in these worlds, like it puts GTA to shame. I do believe that. Some people might contest me, people who love GTA, things like that. I genuinely think it puts it to shame. You get choices like that of Fallout, like that series, whether it comes to conversation, things you pick up, the way your character, like you can build it, put armor on, different weapons, mod those weapons. It has that system from Fallout, and it feels refined. It feels a little bit cleaner. I just like it more. Again, personal choice, but it feels like it's better than Fallout. It has like the story influence of like Infamous Second Son. Infamous Second Son was actually the last first single player, or I keep saying first person. The last single player game I played before Cyberpunk was Infamous Second Son. If you guys aren't familiar with it, you're like this dude who gets transported out of prison. Your car like flips over and has an accident, and you suddenly become imbued with these powers, and it's like smoke powers. It's like that element of smoke you can like control, so you can like jump really high with smoke and like whip people, and you would pick up different elements. But the biggest point behind it is you can be good or bad, and throughout that game you'll have opportunities to make a good choice or a bad choice. And this was binary, mind you, and it was very clear which choice was a good and a bad one. And those choices influenced the outcome of the game and the story you went through and the progression, etc., etc. Granted, I didn't play the game twice, I only played it once, so I don't know if the ending's identical. I'm pretty sure it goes in a similar path with different sort of small little things incorporated. But overall, it was a binary path that felt cool. And it was like, hey, I get to make a choice. I don't know. For me, that felt really, really cool. That was a unique experience in gaming. Choices that meant something via the story. It has the customization beyond anything. I mean, you could change all sorts of different stuff. I mean, there's jokes I've seen on Twitter about, being able to change your dick size, whatever else, change, facial features. It just felt like real customization. Obviously, that had limits, and it's not like the NBA 2K, like, face on a player. I feel like that would honestly be a cool feature they didn't have. That would be dope if they had. And maybe they do. I'm not exactly sure, but it feels like they should. It has like a skill tree, sort of like a borderline. Oh shit. We're empty. All right. We're struggling here. Let's keep it pushing. Like Borderlands 2.0. Just cool. You get to change what perks go invested into what abilities. The skill trees were dynamic. There were a bunch of different skill trees for a bunch of different things. You had this like progression. You felt more and more powerful as the game went on without feeling like the enemies got insignificant or your individual person got like just super OP bashing through everything. It just felt like that level of progression gave you more tools to work with that you could use to play through the game. Whether you're sneaking through the game, bashing and smashing your way through the game, whatever it is, it felt like by leveling up and getting not only that XP, like the points and everything like that, but just the experience of the game actually just gave you more tools, which lets you to more freely and naturally navigate the world and simultaneously make you feel more powerful without being like powerful. You know what I mean? That was a super well done integration into how that game works. And the last thing I'll bring up was supposedly good graphics. Now, this has been a huge concern, and the reason why, like I said, so many people have refunded their copy of 2077. It's gotten so much shit on the internet. It's terrible. Game's awful. Game's broken. Developers needed to keep at it longer. Developers are trash. The game's half ready. Blah, all this shit, right? The graphics in this game really, really struggle in a lot of aspects. Now, I've seen people have like great experiences with it, but I've also seen people have super shit experiences with it. So I'm just gonna speak to my experience with it, I'm just gonna go from there. I have an Xbox Series X, and I downloaded the game on Xbox Series X and played it on Xbox Series X. I'm using an optimized monitor. I'm playing the Xbox Series X to its fullest potential. The game's good. The graphics are good, except good is a very, very scary word to be paired alongside with most ambitious game ever. And that's sort of why I put ambitious, because it had so much ambition that the game, it was released too early. That game needed more time. Now, granted, this wasn't the release date. They forced to hit it and then hit it. They put out multiple messages saying that, hey, we got to postpone it. Things need more work. We want you to have the best experience. We need to keep working that. And honestly, huge kudos to them for doing that. Huge. They got That's scary to tell a community who's excited and waiting for your games. People have paid for it, things like that. We're not ready yet. What we told you wasn't true. We need more time. That's scary, whether you're releasing a game, doing a project for your boss, whatever else it is, right? That's scary. And they communicated well. They were open about what they were doing. It was awesome. But I feel like they could only push it too far, get too many, hey, we have to keep postponing this, until management, the people who had the money, whatever it was, said, fuck it, release it. We've pushed it on too long. The public needs this game. The money people need this game to go out. The investors need this game to go out. Whatever it may be. Got tired of that and said, fuck it, put it out there. We'll try and fix it as we go. And there's a lot of fixes coming on the way, a lot of changes. It's going to have, I believe, like in 2021, like this ability to go PvP, sort of like The Division. That game, I don't know if you guys are familiar, like open world PvP kind of shit. They said, fuck it. We'll just go out there. And that's the wrong call. But you have to acknowledge that there's so much money involved in making games, so much money on the line, so much power and politics and influence. And like, artists and designers and creators behind video games want to see them succeed. They value the gaming experience. Right? So many of them are gamers themselves. Why they got into this was because they love gaming. They wanted to create this, right? Obviously, if there were problems with the game, they wouldn't want to do disservice to their own vision and their own work. They wouldn't release it. But the pressure from the outside, like I said, is everything. All the money involved, the politics, the investors, the pressure for like a developing team. That if you don't deliver with this game, you might not get funding for the next game. Like, there's so much pressure everywhere. And I don't feel like that's understood enough in the gaming world. These people are under some of the most pressure of anyone. And it's just insane. But, you know, politics, funding, marketing, sales, all of it, it almost feels like video games aren't a part about the art or the experience anymore. And that's sort of a very far whatever side statement, very, very attacking. And I understand to have the privilege to create and innovate requires funding, people with vision, investors, things like that. And to grow, there's going to be growing pains, there's going to be difficulties. And whenever you can make money off something, a lot of times people will not exploit that, I guess. I don't know, maybe exploit it. I don't know what word you want to use. People will try and make money when there's money to be made. But with something as delicate as a video game that tells a story, has a visual art, the ability for people to communicate within it, so many different aspects of it. It's more than just a song. It's more than just a movie. It's more than just a book. It's everything. Every experience you could possibly ask for, minus like, I don't know. It feels like the culmination of every kind of media combined into one incredible result. And you cannot overstate how difficult that is. I just can't. That's incredibly hard, and I have so much respect for everyone who does it. But that level of innovation and that growth requires a lot of money, and it's just stressful. It's an art. The people doing this are artists, and the life of an artist is very, very difficult. Not a lot of things are guaranteed. To establish yourself, you have to get lucky, put out amazing things, and when people like it, you're told, do it again, but different. And at what point does that original thing was created because you had a vision, you had an idea, you put your heart and soul into it, and it came out, and people just happened to like it. You know, maybe you were thinking while you were doing it, I'm making this so people will like it a lot, but more often than not, what I would guess, again, this isn't the gospel and the truth, but this is just me talking about what I think. People make this because they love it, they have a vision, and they want to create it, and then it's well received, and people like it. And then now all of a sudden, there's an expectation. That's dangerous, having that expectation, because now they say, yeah, do it again, but different. But make people still like it, but also attract in new people. Don't lose old fans, and you'll be fine. What? That's unfathomably difficult. The fact that I said that word properly, That was impressive. I'm just gonna give myself a thumbs up there, right? That's just insane. That's insanely difficult to do, and I just keep saying how difficult this is, but that's because it can't be overstated. And maybe that's why some people feel like older games were better than now, or like the original games were the best, or whatnot, right? Because back then maybe there wasn't expectation, there wasn't this overbearing necessity to improve. It was just this really pure vision and art and idea that came out and did what it was intended to do, and it was to touch the souls and minds of those playing the game. That sounded really dramatic, but to be quite honest, I think that experience deserves that kind of flair and dramatics from that past sentence. Yeah, right. But maybe that's my take on why some people think the older games are better than they were now, because it's so much easier to perform when you don't have expectation. At the end of the day, it's a privilege to be a part of that experience on the receiving end of these video games, of all these hours and hours and hours of hard work, just to be able to say, oh, I'm going to give you $60 and I get to experience that myself with no other effort beyond that. We don't even need to go to GameStop anymore or a store. We'll buy it online. Put your fucking card in the 4 digits in, 3 digits, whatever. Is it 3 or 4? I don't actually know. I think it's 3 digits on the back of the card. Anyone watching this video, if you guys want, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and then if you respond in the comments with those numbers and those 3 digits, I'll know you liked the video. We'll see where that goes. Right, but it's a privilege to be part of that experience. That's what I'm trying to say. And you want to make it better? Support your creators. Find out who they are. I feel like a lot of times people don't even know. Like, they know the studio. Find the people. You love the art in a game? Go look up that game. Find out who the lead artist was. Follow them on Twitter. And then go find out who all the assistant artists were. Follow them on Twitter. Go hit them up in their DMs if they're open. Be like, yo, your game was amazing. It made me lose myself in the game, throw away all the troubles I had in the world, and appreciate what you designed. It was incredible. Great work. You do that, I guarantee you made that person's fucking year. Getting one message from one person about all the effort they put into that, knowing that what they put out was a success and had the impact they wanted it to have. We need to, and at the risk of sounding cliche, normalize that in culture. And I sort of hate those tweets, but you know what I mean, right? Go do that. Support your creators. So many of us don't even know who the creators are. I'm guilty of that. Just even saying that now. And again, everything in this podcast just sort of comes off the top of the head. Just saying that now, I'm going to go do that for some of my favorite games, specifically Cyberpunk 2077. And give real feedback. Don't be like a bandwagon, right? Like, a lot of hate for 2077 has been the game underperformed. It's super shitty. It has bugs everywhere. Like, okay, great. There's bugs in the game. Not usually a good thing. Let's find out what those bugs are. Get them to the developers. Be like, hey, when you get the time, fix this. Because my experience in this game was ruined by this bug. That's bad. No one is making these games and wants their experience to be ruined. Obviously, that's a fuck up. That's a mistake. If they had more time, if they had unlimited time, they would never release the game until they felt it was ready, right? I generally believe that the game was released too early because the money and the politics and the powers that be said enough is enough. You can't keep pushing this off. The investors are waiting. Put it out there. And I'm sure those artists and those designers and those creators weren't happy about it. And to something that they have thousands of hours into be received so poorly, I'm sure that's soul crushing and really frustrating because you only get one big reveal, and 2077 did not astonish with that big reveal. That's why I said ambitious, because ambition is about the future, and I think the future of this game is incredible, and the doors it opened, the potential it has. Because of its ambition, other games are going to be better. And this game itself will continue to improve and be better, and I'll keep playing it probably for a long time. I love this game, flaws and all. I love what it does, how it makes me feel, and because of that, because I understand that perspective, and I know so many great things about this game and the experience it's given me, I wanted to look past some of those bugs, some of those visual problems, etc., because I appreciate what it did and what it tried to do. Like, so many of these developers were in teams of people who started as one of us. They were gamers, people who loved video games. It was their passion. It was what made them feel special or drove them every day or whatever it did for them. They were one of us. Fans who love games and everything about that experience and chose to make that, be a creator, which is incredibly difficult to do, for the rest of their lives. That's what they were going to do. So I respect the hell out of that, and I'm going to do my best to support. And I just, again, I feel so privileged to grow up in a world where this is the norm. Getting groundbreaking, mind-blowing, innovative games every year. Every year, shit's coming out. Now, I think 2077 is very, very big. And I think it's an ambitious jump, and perhaps one of the biggest jumps we've seen as of very recently. But this happens all the time. The gaming experience is getting better and better, faster and faster, and it just feels like it's racing offwards and onwards, seemingly without a ceiling. But there's a wall there that stops that progress, and that's honestly the money, right? It's a business like anything. It's an economy, and that brick wall is the money and the funding. And what happens when we hit it? What happens when we hit that wall and it stops us from keeping that upwards and onwards progression and creating more and more experiences that are incredible, revolutionary? And what happens when we hit that wall? Well, I think 2077, Cyberpunk 2077 is what happens when we hit that wall. Thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 2 of Untitled. Big Sports, online classes, and Cyberpunk 2077. Thank you guys. I'm gonna hit stop recording on this one and start the process of going through and editing it. You guys will see us on YouTube soon. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever it is. It is December 24th. Y'all are probably sleeping right now. Hope you wake up to happy and healthy families and get a couple steps closer to the upcoming year of 2021. I hope all your dreams come true. Fuck it, bro. I'm gonna be Santa Claus. I'm gonna be making everyone's dreams come true, giving out gifts and shit. When I'm rich and famous, maybe not even famous, maybe not even rich. When I'm out there and have the ability to give to others, I think that's gonna be one of my priorities for the rest of my life. Is the impact I have on others. And if you watch my first podcast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. With that, I'm out. Again, I could talk forever. This podcast just eclipsed an hour long. I'm going to leave it as is. Love you guys. Take care of each other. I'm out.